Yo, what's going on, guys? Snooze Man back here with another YouTube video, and today we're actually going to talk about how to prepare for the new scouting features coming in Madden 22 franchise mode. And I'm going to back out of this and kind of just start from the basics. So we have a lot of stuff and a lot of new stuff implemented into the new Madden 22 franchise. So we won't exactly know the exact specifics for a little bit for Madden 22 scouting, but we do know we have a lot coming to the game. One of the things is you're going to have a certain amount of scouts being able to you're going to be able to send those scouts over to certain regions in the country to be able to scout certain positions, like quarterback, just all throughout different positions, offensive tackle, middle linebacker, certain actual positions, and you get to go scout them and send your scouts, individual scouts, over to a certain region in the country to scout a certain amount or that position group in a certain region in the country, and it gives you a efficiency boost when scouting a position like that. So that's going to help you in terms of nailing, a player, a certain position, and drafting right and not drafting a bust. So that's going to help you in a lot of ways there. So in order to prepare for things like that, and another thing that is kind of coming up that EA developers are talking about is news. News is going to be revamped and is even going to be a bigger thing than it was in Madden 21. I talked about this kind of heavily this year for news because I believe news is where a lot of things happen that not a lot of people pay attention to. And I'll go into here and show you guys and reiterate this again because I've gone over this a couple times, but I really want to make sure. But EA developers are saying that stories are going to be revamped and even be a bigger thing, for draft stories coming up for players, and they're going to have new stories, not just the same stuff they've had for obviously a while now. They're going to have new news and new stories to showcase for just the league and draft stories. So the draft stories are huge because you get to follow these guys and see what they're doing in college currently. That's going to help either lower their stock or boost their stock in the draft and help you select a guy come draft time. So this guy right here, again, I'll go over it. Football has been passed down through the generations. The torch is being carried, and I've seen him already, guys. So they're already talking about his family history, and usually that means a guy that is not very high on people's radar, people that are a draft story that is talking about family generations being passed down. So that already means, and this has been something that's been talked about for many Maddens already. That's the same type of news story. That's how I do know this. But a quarterback like that, as we can see, is already way down here. Is right here, and he's number 17. He's a number 17th prospect. Now that doesn't mean he just can't go up. But again, guys, we know that now by the draft story that he's going to play decent by his rich family history, and I'm just going to scout him. And it's saying he's a mid first rounder as a 17 prospect. So I want you guys to definitely pay attention to that because not only is that coming back to Madden 22, but they're going to revamp that and make that even bigger. So I definitely get used to that, guys. By the news, I'm telling you, I already knew this a while back ago, but definitely get on this now. So that's really tip number one. Tip number two, guys, that I would really focus on is, especially with all the new features coming into Madden 22, do not skip your weeks. So when you have the ability to scout players, do not skip your weeks. If you skip your weeks, eventually your point total to be able to spend for scouting on your college players will lower in point total, and you're not going to be able to really scout anybody, and you're going to go in without any scouting at all, and you're going to go in blindfolded into your drafts. And that's never good, not taking your time into a franchise and just going into a draft blindfolded and never taking the time to scout these guys. And you're going to draft a lot of guys that are busts with normal development and never have any guys pan out. You might get lucky, but that's not really the price to pay. For just getting lucky. It just, that doesn't usually happen a lot. So I would definitely hone in and take your time week by week. It gives you more and more scouting points because if you don't do it, that's just your own waste, and it's not going to be a good end result for you. And really, number three, um, be precise on your scouting. So obviously, it says top three right here, right? It's showing number two and number three guys right here to scout are actually a round two and round four guy. So don't just assume these guys are round two and round four guys. They're top three prospects, but they're really not, because you can see how late rounds these guys are going. So make sure you're going through and scouting guys and paying attention to their archetypes. Archetypes are always really huge. Don't just draft guys. These really do mean, obviously it shows fourth round talent as it pops up there when I just kind of sit on the player icon there. So always go through these very specific here and break these down and pay attention to what their archetypes is. You don't want to draft an archetype you don't want, or an archetype that's not going to fit your team. I've talked about it back in the past. A lot of these scheme fits are very nice, even though this is a number two prospect. That's a second round talent, so that's never great, obviously. That's never worth it to take. He's going to be not a good player at all. But, a corner, let's see something like this, and that's a mid first rounder. That's a scheme fit. Something like that would really work. And it's man to man. Maybe I need man to man. I need to pay attention to that. I need to pay attention to what type of corners I have. If I have mostly zone corners, this could really help in terms of a 5'11 man to man corner. So pay attention to what your team needs, your scheming wise. And be precise again on all these. And then more features are going to be coming, guys. So when you go into this same type of screen coming into Madden 22, it's going to show guys like, let's say this Jalen Carter. It's going to show a top 5 projection over to like the right over there, and then it's going to show again his archetype, and then it'll actually in like the bottom little left there, like next to that number one there, it's going to be obviously a different screen in a game hub next year, really coming up in a little over a month now. But it's going to show like these arrows pointing up or arrows pointing down, meaning his draft stock is either rising or his draft stock is either lowering. And you can honestly find a lot of that through the news, but even if so, we can see this through scouting these players and keeping up with it. So when the arrows are up and his scouting or his draft stock is going up, that's obviously huge. Or his draft stock is going down, we know that's not a great player to take, obviously, in the first round. So always pay attention to that coming up, and I'd watch future videos coming up here on scouting and when they do release more news on it. But it looks like scouting is going to take a big leap next year. So hopefully some of these tips, if you have not already been doing this year, have helped you guys out in a way to prepare you guys for Madden 22 franchise. Again, it's still work in progress for some of this stuff. There's also a mock draft feature also in Madden 22 franchise mode, so that is awesome stuff. Brand new game hub. It's not just the same look of franchise, so you see Matt Nagy here. It's not going to be a thing next year. Completely brand new game hub. Next year's franchise mode is just going to transcend itself, and it's going to bring a lot of joy and fun to the game next year, guys. So hopefully this video did help you guys in terms of getting prepared for Madden 22 scouting college players. And if it did, make sure you guys are leaving a like and hitting that sub button down below. Now we are very close to 400 subs, guys. We are only 5 subs out. So again, guys, thank you guys for all of that. But again, guys, that will be it for today's video. And until next time, I will see you guys in the next one.